What position did you play at rugby?
I was hooker.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I was just saying...
I was hooker and voted most likely to start a fight.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Chatzzz. We've got a very special guest. Brendan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's lovely to be here in my own office.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, you showed me a very, very nice tour around the whole operation, should we say?
Yeah. It's a lovely day here in Coniston, which we don't get too many of them, but it is really, really nice. You can see the lake. And I was just been showing Adam around all the things that we do, our Victorian workshop and our piles of slate waiting to be either worked on or reworked or whatever.
Yeah, and you said to me on LinkedIn, didn't you, when I messaged you, said, you need to come to Coniston. And
you don't understand it until you come to Coniston. It's one of those things where people go, oh yeah, I know slate. And then when you're shown around a place like this or Honister or whatever, you go, oh yeah, I know nothing at all about slate. I have my preconceptions, but now I know a little bit more. And I'm still learning. I'm 3 years into this and I'm still learning every single day.
Well, I can see how passionate you were, like explaining everything to me. And I was just a newbie to it all. And then you showed me around and I know now that Cumbrian slate's green.
No, some Cumbrian slate's green. Okay. We have three colours on the mountain. Some are Cumbrian slate's green. Westmorland green slate.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, yeah. See, I've already got it wrong. That's my bad. So what we do is start off with, in fact, introduce yourself to the audience. So anyone that's, how you would meet someone for the first time. So if you were introducing yourself, how would you do that, the viewers and listeners?
Well, I like to listen to what they're on about first time. So I would probably say, hi, and what do you do?
Yeah.
But if it's come to me, I'd say, hi, my name's Brendan, and I look after a couple of companies up here one's called Coniston Stonecraft, and the other one's called Lake District Trophies. And we deal predominantly in our local slate, which is quarried in about 6 or 8 quarries around Coniston. And we pull from wherever we like to get good slate from. And we've just been in the quarry today and pulled a lot of stuff that's going to be used in trophy manufacturing.
Nice. That's a really good intro. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. And then the 3 facts about yourself. So you prepped this as well. You got your notes.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm not going to be left stuttering and stumbling. So 3 facts about me.
Before we always start, did you struggle with this or not? Because everyone always struggles with the 3 facts. They always say, "Oh, I'm not interested. I don't have anything to say." Or
easy. Cutting it down to 3 facts. Yeah.
That's good then.
Yeah. So first one that I think you'd like to know is that I'm a Brampton lad and I left school when I was 16. I went to White House, fantastic time there, but I just wanted to go out and work. And so when I was 16, I left and I worked for Kangle Magnet in Carlisle as on the shop floor making seatbelts. Second interesting fact, I've co-authored a book on slow selling. It's something I feel passionately about, the way in which we sell, the way in which we should sell. And it's a nice little book. It does okay. And I co-authored that with a very good friend of mine who lives in Devon called Guy Arnold. And I'm very proud of it. And the third interesting fact is that I'm 61. I am even more passionate about the 3 things that mean the most to me now. So I live for 3 things: family, Cumbria, and Stonecraft. So it's a real, I've got a very good family. I love them to death. I love my home county. I'm born and bred. I was born in Brampton Cottage Hospital in 1961. And I just love the county. I love traveling through it. I love meeting people from it. I love the fact that we live in such a fantastic place. It is as close to heaven as you can possibly get. And since 2020, I've put my all into Stonecraft, into Coniston Stonecraft. I'm proving a point. I'm the happiest I've been in ages. And as somebody who is a serial entrepreneur, this is, for me, this is the best thing that I've ever done. It's such hard work. It is so, the odds are stacked so much against you. And they the buying public need to be educated, but especially Cumbrian buyers need to be educated about the beauty of the stuff that we produce, because it is undoubtedly beautiful. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done hotels, wine distributions, chemical distributions, written a book. I'm a consultant for the slow selling movement. I've started at Coniston Stonecraft not from scratch, but it went bust. So I've started it afresh, and I started Lake District trophies. And, I don't think I'm finished. I think I'm looking for the next thing as well. And so, yeah, I am a bit of a nut job.
I think you've got to be there to run your own business, haven't you?
I think you have to be a certain type of person to run your own business. I was just saying to you before we switched on that, I speak to people and they're saying, so how much invested are you in this? And they go, oh, well, I just act as a consultant. And whilst I do a bit of consultancy, I always realize that I walk home and I go into my house and that's it. I am not invested in it. But in Stonecraft and Lake District trophies, they go wrong, I lose my house. That's how invested I am in it. And if I lost my house, I'd lose my beautiful wife as well, because she would have very little.
Does she know that you got the house on the line as well? Or?
Oh yeah, she's good. She knows. Yeah. So yeah, really big motivating factor. Do not lose house. Yeah. So but I'm absolutely invested in it, and there's no point in doing things by half. You do things to prove a point, prove it. So that's what I'm about.
Nice. So then let's go back to a little Brendan. That you said at 16 you left school. What did you enjoy then when you were growing up as a kid?
Oh God, I was out all the time. I lived in Brampton. It was a slightly different life. My dad worked in Spade Adam, so he was the head of the computer department at Spade Adam. So we had a great life. We were out on bikes, fishing, sailing, going up to the town, rowing, just out all the time. My education was more about nature and being outside rather than learning stuff. I still am quite lazy, and I just would learn enough to get by. And I see it now in my son and my daughter. And it really annoys me. I think it really annoyed me, mum and dad. But I just about got by. I got some O levels. I didn't really want to do my A levels. I didn't really want to go to university. I ended up going to university, but I didn't really want to. And I just wanted to be out working.
Yeah. Did you have anything that you wanted to be then when you were growing up, or did you never really give it a second thought?
I didn't really know what I wanted to be until I was in my mid-30s.
Okay.
I like selling.
Yeah.
I find that where people go, oh, I could never just go up to them and knock on that door. I'm like, oh, come on, I'll show you how. Bang, bang, bang. Hi. And I enjoy selling. I enjoy solving other people's retail problems with our goods. And so in my mid-30s, I thought, I want to be good at selling. And so I've been and done a lot of jobs, but I've never failed when it comes to selling. Never.
What do you reckon your first memory of selling was? Because say, for example, I remember when I was like tiny, at like maybe about 6 or 7, I like make little like paper phones and sell them to kids at school, like 2 or 3p, and sell the Live Strong Beat bullion bands, or sell sweets at school and all that kind of stuff. I just, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was like the cool thing to do. So can you remember when the first thing?
I was quite old because, I didn't really go straight into selling. I came to it and then discovered that I liked it. But I just remember learning from people who were good and watching and listening to the people who it became, it wasn't natural. They taught themselves to be naturally good at it. And I just remember thinking, I could do that. They've got a lot of confidence, but they're not really confident people. They're just confident in that environment.
Yeah.
And they provide, they listen, and then they provide a solution. And that's what slow selling is all about. It's not about, I'll give you 50% off if you buy. It's about, so what do you need? What do you want? How can we fix that? Would this be a good solution? Is this a win-win? And so that's what I work towards. I live and breathe the slow selling mantra.
I think selling, like you say, the most important part of selling is listening though, isn't it?
It's understanding what people want. Because sometimes people, I'll say stuff and they don't really mean it. I want it pink. You don't have pink slate. Yeah, but I want it pink. What do you need it for? I need it for this. Why does it have to be pink? It doesn't have to be pink. That's just something that I'd like. But if it solved this problem, would you like that? Oh, I'd really like that. And would that trump being pink? Oh, yeah. It doesn't have to be pink if it can solve that problem. Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't you look at this? Does this give you a win-win? Yeah, that's great. That's just what I want. And then you move through it. So you've got to understand your audience more than just listen. Listening gives you 9/10 of it, but understanding and putting the bricks in place, that gives you the rest of it. And then you just motor on from there.
Yeah. So then backtracking slightly, so you said when you left school at 16, you went to start work, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then, so what was the first job then?
I worked as a work study engineer in Cangle Magnet, looking at ways in which you could increase efficiency. At the time, I thought it was great. Now I do wonder about why we were doing it. I think basically, again, leadership was, let's do this and let's make as much as we can and let's get as much out the door, where really they should have been going, let's make the best product, let's sell the best product, let's get more people involved. Because I'm going to get dates right now. In the early 80s, when Thatcher came to power, we had two customers, basically. We had British Leyland, we had Ford. And when both of them said, we don't need any more seatbelts, we had 50,000 a week to produce, and then not one seatbelt a week. And if we'd had other producers, Volvo, Peugeot, and other people like that, and we've been producing, we've been able to shift supply. So, similar for this business, we're not reliant upon anybody. Most of our sales now come from the internet. Yeah. We were reliant before the business went bust, predominantly on one customer. And we've more or less lost that customer. That means the business should vanish. But if you change the purpose of the business and change the focus and say, I'm not going to be reliant upon any one customer. We've got some great customers, and we've got some customers who we'd cry if we lost them, but it wouldn't break the company. It would just hurt the company. And then we'd limp until it was repaired. And then we go, right, well, we've lost them, but we've gained them. We've lost them, but we've gained them. So that's the way that we run, and we're always looking forward rather than looking backwards. And I think that my first job, I learned an awful lot. I had some really good coaches and really good people around me. And I learned an awful lot. It was very funny. I mean, you can write a book on the shop floor of Cangle. Yeah. It was so funny. 600 women and 60 blokes. Just the funniest time.
I was going to say, what did you learn then from that?
I learned that I can't hold my drink.
At least you learned that at a young age then.
Oh, yeah. I know. I learned that there's no substitute. Yeah. I'd got by up until then on a bit of patter and a bit of doing just enough. And there isn't any substitute for hard work. If you want something, you do have to go and work for it. And so that has lived with me for the rest of my life. And I'm no longer as lazy as I'm inherently lazy, but I'm no longer lazy. If I want something, I go, what do I need to do this? And then, right, here's my plan. And I stick rigidly to the plan until I've got it.
Yeah. So then after that, did you go to uni after that job, or
how did that come about? I got laid off in whatever it was, and I was doing work study, and there was two places that did an HND in work study, and there were no jobs in Carlisle. I mean, literally no jobs. It was a very, very, it was Boys of the Black Stuff's time. It was very, very dire. And so I got an HND in business studies down at Dorset College, down in Bournemouth. Went down there, played a bit of rugby, had a fantastic time, and sort of made my mind up that I would like a degree, because I saw the other part of education, and I thought, well, I'll get an HND, but I want a degree. So then took
Why? What wanted that?
It was sort of like HND is okay, and I'm not decrying it. It's a good thing to have, but the degree opened more doors.
Okay.
And so I
thinking further ahead then.
Yeah. And I was still relatively young then. I just decided that, I want a degree. And I was very, very, very lucky to get accepted into Lancaster to do a 3-year degree course in 2 years. Because at that time, it seems like an eternity ago, but at that time, the local council paid your fees and they gave you money to go to university. I know it sounds like a different world, doesn't it?
I'd pay $9,000 a year.
I'd already had 2 years. I was allowed a maximum of 4. So I needed to do a 2-year degree. I couldn't fund the 3rd year. And I was lucky enough to get a 2-year degree at Lancaster. I went in when everybody else had done year 1 and I managed to get a 2-1. But I worked really hard, but I also played really hard. I was playing for the university teams. I was captain of 1 or 2 of the teams I played rugby with for them. And I played really, really hard, and I built a fantastic network of really good mates.
What position did you play at rugby?
What
position did you play at rugby?
I was hooker.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I've just seen network.
I was hooker and voted most likely to start a fight.
They normally are.
Yeah.
The hooker at my school, he was always starting the fight. Yeah. It's always a hooker.
It goes with it. My son's a hooker now.
Is he?
And he's a lovely, very kind-hearted lad, but a different fellow when he's in the front row.
Yeah, they're absolute nutters. I would never want to be in that scrum.
And I'd never want to be anywhere.
But like you said, networking as well at university, I think that's such a valuable thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been to my best man's 60th birthday celebrations last weekend in Bristol and met people that I've not seen for 20 years and from university and from rugby. And it's just been fantastic because they're all there. They're all doing well. They're all happy for everybody. And it's so nice to see them. And I've got such a good support network around me. And whilst I would have had that if I'd stayed in Cumbria, without a doubt, it wouldn't have been the same. I've got a different view because I've still got all my Cumbrian mates. I've still got lads that I went to school with or knocked around with or are vaguely related to me. And I see them on a regular basis. We go playing snooker on a Friday night most nights if I'm up in the county. But to have these lot and have, some of them are ultra successful, some of them not successful at all. But to have them all and to be as close as you can be with them is just great. It really is.
Because then after you finished university, what was the plan then?
Oh, I went out and worked for 12 years in the brewing industry. I worked for Whitbread, Matthew Brown, Scottish Newcastle, Banks's Brewery down in the Midlands, met my wife in the Midlands, and, the rest is, as they say, is history. I worked for various companies. I worked for United Biscuits. I worked for Avery Burkle. I worked for Bobcat. I worked for Scaffolding in Great Britain. I worked for all sorts of companies. I found what I wanted to do, which was selling, and I wasn't unhappy to be a sales manager or a sales or account manager or national account manager or whatever. All of that sort of stuff, as long as I was interacting and solving problems and selling. And as I say, I wasn't used to bad sales. I got every target that I was ever given. So I was quite happy doing that. And then, oh God, I can't remember when. But then the I need to do something for myself happened. I was working for United Biscuits, so it was around about the turn of the century, 98. I took the lease of a pub down in our local village, a hotel pub, so it was a 24-hour operation. And I was looking after a sales team. And we did that for a while. And then thought, I've done that. I've got it out of my system. But once you start to become an entrepreneur, it doesn't go out of your system. You always think, they're not, I could do that better. Then I did a business that failed. It wasn't a great success.
I was going to say, had you always wanted to have your own business then, or?
Yeah, not always. I would have loved to have got a really nice business and a really nice job and just done the time and, followed my hobbies, played more golf, watched more rugby. But it's not for everybody. It's not for me. And I haven't got a pension. Pension got stolen, in a white collar crime, along with several thousand other people's pensions. So I haven't got a pension. So it sort of keeps you sharp, and doing this is good. Doing this is great.
Yeah. So then you said, like in your 30s, you found the love of sales and that kind of thing. So what was the moment you thought, I'm going to lease this pub then, this hotel?
I just always wanted. I've done 12 years in the brewing industry. I met my wife in the brewing industry. I saw a pub that was really good pub, just run into the ground.
Yeah. What was the thought process then?
I just said to the wife, should we do it? And she went, no. And I went, no, should we do it? She said, you're going to anyway, aren't you? And I went, yeah. And she went, okay, well, we'll do it then. So we did it, and we turned it completely around, and we did it until we wanted to, and then it lost its allure. And sometimes when you've done something, you tick the box and you move on, and that was pretty much what we'd done. I did it to prove a point.
Yeah.
And I proved the point, and then moved on. And
who were you proving that point to, do you reckon? To yourself?
Predominantly to myself, yeah. Just to myself. I didn't have to risk an awful lot. So I didn't have to put the house on the market. I didn't have to do an awful lot. It was a leasehold pub. So I knew that if I put a certain amount of money in, I'd get a certain amount of money back.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was really staggering along. It was doing like $2,500 a week. And I knew that if I did a couple of years, I could get that up to doing a lot more. So we were doing about nearly £7,000 a week when we left. And I just had other things. I'd never given up my main job. So my main job
was hard graft then, isn't it?
My main job was still looking after a sales force in the Midlands. And at that time, United Biscuits sold the sales force to a company called Palmer and Harvey, and it just got a little bit too complicated. And I had to give one of them up. And it wasn't a difficult decision to give up my hobby rather than give up my work.
Yeah. So then, what did you say was after that then? Your little venture?
I did a little wine company, and I didn't do the research. I did it because I wanted to get out of something I wasn't happy with. But benefit of hindsight, I should never have done it. It cost me money. It didn't cost me a lot. I wasn't fully invested. But I just shouldn't have done it. And I didn't do the research. There wasn't the money to be made in what I thought there was. So I quickly got out of that. And then I actually went and sold scaffolding, which was great. Loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that come about then? Obviously you did the pub and the hotel and then the wine. So they're kind of linked, aren't they? And then the scaffolding is completely different.
It's connections. A friend of mine who also worked for United Biscuits was doing the training for all the scaffolding people, and they needed somebody to look after the Midlands division for their sales force. And my friend said, I know the very man. She has no scaffolding experience, and really, that's what you want. Because here's the thing with scaffolding at that time, bear in mind it's the 2006, something like that. Salespeople for scaffolders were generally ex-scaffolders who'd fallen off. So they'd injured themselves and couldn't scaffold. So they went and took a backward step, as they saw it, less money, and selling. And not all of them were that good at it. So they needed somebody to go in and say, this is how I would like you to sell. This is how it makes it easy for you if you do this. This is how we're going to get these people involved. And we were massively successful. But that doesn't guarantee that you're always going to be in a job.
Yeah. So then when that opportunity got presented to you, then what was the thought process there?
That's good. That's a new challenge. I'm always up for different challenges. This one, I had no experience of running a slate manufacturing business.
Have you always had that self-confidence then, do you reckon? And self-belief?
No, I think that comes from doing stuff right and getting things done. But
because I would have thought
other people had it, and the lad who'd recommended me
had it in you.
Said, you could do this, Brendan. You're really successful at it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I've never done anything to do with scaffolding. Yeah. It'll take you a couple of 3 months to learn a lot about the different expressions and the different scaffolds and the different ways in which you use stuff. Basically, it's just selling. Yeah. A lot of stuff. I've sold stuff
from fundamentals, isn't it?
Yeah. Earth moving equipment right the way down to bags of crisps. It's all just selling.
Yeah. I suppose, like me personally, like you said, went off the back of the wine thing. That didn't go so well. I would have had like the self-doubt in my head thinking, oh, can I do this? And
I needed to do something else. And I was getting paid a wage to do scaffolding in Great Britain. Yeah. So that for me at the time was absolutely great. And to be fair, I absolutely loved it. It's a great company. You meet some real proper characters.
I can imagine on those sites.
And we were very, very successful. But things happen. And so it was time to move on. I had a sort of bust up with the managing director, and it was an accountant, and he was in charge, and he couldn't see where the business was going. And one day I told him where the business was going and what would happen if he didn't change. And he said, "You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong." And shortly afterwards, I got made redundant because he didn't like arguing with me. And then a year later, everything that I'd said came to pass, and he laid off 170 people. So
crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
So I'd like to say I was right, but I feel worse for the 170 people who could still be in a job now in a very successful business.
Yeah. But some people just aren't willing to listen, are they?
No. It was I'll tell you what it was about, because you'll see technology changes, and scaffolding was used to do things like when you do a hospital, the roofs are higher because you've got a lot of pipework in the roofs of the hospital.
Okay.
So you need to put in little scaffolds to get people up to work safely at that height. So they've got edging and stuff around them. And that's what always been done. And then this little thing called a pop-up came along, which is an electric thing that takes you up to that height.
Yeah.
Only about 3 meters. It raises you up about 2.5 meters, and then you can work safely at that thing. And I said, "We need these." And he said, "That's just ridiculous. We're fine. We don't need those."
Set in his ways.
And in the end, I persuaded him to buy 200 for the company. And they went out within a week. All of them. Every single one was out on hire within a week. And he couldn't get any more. And then people like Speedy came and took our business away from us. I wasn't there anymore, but instead of just getting 200, he should have got 2,000. And then the business would be flying.
Yeah, I feel like people that are too set in their ways and aren't willing to adapt and move with things.
I'm married to an accountant. My wife, Cherry, is an accountant. And they're very, very risk averse. And accountants are absolutely essential to stop people like me spending all the money. But they shouldn't be put in charge because they have no forward vision.
Why are spending money there?
There are the odd exception.
Yeah.
But yeah, why are you spending that money? Because if we don't, we get overtaken by our opposition and we lose our business.
Yeah, you got to spend money to make money, haven't you? In whatever it is. So then after that, then what was next?
After that, I did a little spell selling diggers. I did a little spell selling weighing equipment. And then I decided to take on a franchise. I took a franchise in the Midlands selling chemicals. And I was reasonably successful at that. But it was, it involved driving a 7.5 ton truck, and it involved lifting an awful lot. And the old rugby injuries just came back to haunt me. My knees are shot. My back is shot. Yeah. And I was lifting tons every day. Loading a van, unloading a van, loading a van, unloading a van, up and down into a 7.5 ton all day long. And my knees just were giving out and my back was giving out. And I didn't get on well with the franchise company who wanted all sorts of stuff. And it felt like I wasn't working for myself. Felt like I was working for them, but having to arrange my own pay. And, the rewards were good. Believe me, the rewards were very good. But I just became disillusioned with it. I didn't like the fact that they were giving me orders when I paid money for the business. And I paid £100,000. It wasn't like, here's pocket money. I was well invested. I put my house on the line on this one. And so myself and my wife said, you can stay in this until you're 65. And I went, there's no way I can stay in this until I'm 65. I'll be lucky if I can get to 61 without my back breaking. And I was absolutely right. I would not have done big work.
It's not what you want, is it?
No. And there's a lifespan that you need. It's a young man's job. And I was getting too old for it. And so I stopped doing that, sold my franchise. I made very good money from it, paid a lot of capital gains tax. And then I went, what do I do now? And I thought, well, I don't need to do anything now. Then my pension was stolen and I went, oh yeah, I do need to do something now. And so I helped write this book, and then I just thought, why the book? I started I'm replying to adverts for people doing sales jobs. I'd be quite happy just taking a sales job, sales manager, key account manager, that sort of thing. And I got to in quick succession, I got to the final interview, and I was told, I said, how many are in for this? And they said, only you, Brendan. There's you versus you. And I didn't get both of them. And I was 57 at the time. And I didn't get both of them. And I came to the conclusion that despite the fact that you can't tell somebody we're not taking you on because you're 57, that was probably the reason.
Just age.
And I thought, if I can get to the final interview twice and only have myself to beat, and I can't beat myself, I haven't got no chance of doing this. I'm going to have to do something for myself. And then this came up. I knew about the business, but the previous owner, Alec, rang us and said, because he knew me, and he said, I'll put it into administration. I can't make it work. So if you want, here's the company, the administrators, they're based in Blackpool, but I'm closing it down. And I rang the administrators that day, and they said, well, we're looking at just selling it all off, selling all the machine equipment off, and just closing the whole thing down. And the workforce will be made redundant on the weekend. And that's it. And I just thought, this is too nice a business.
How much did you know about the business then?
Nothing. I was going to swear then.
You can swear if you want. It doesn't matter. You can swear.
No, basically not an awful lot. But I knew the people who worked here, and I rang them and I said, what do you think? And they went, oh, please. And I rang Laura, and she said, all we need is somebody who can go and sell. And that was enough to hook me, because that's all I wanted to do, just go and sell. And she said, that's all we need, because we produce beautiful stuff. We've got work coming in. We just need more of it. And that's what we need at the moment. We've had, since Truss, we've had a terrible time because people have gone, I haven't got enough money in my pocket for a discretionary spend on a nice bit of slate, whatever, clock or whatever. So I'm not going to do it. So what we need is me selling more. And that's what I do. And I've done for the last 3 years. It's starting to pay dividends. I'm hopeful that this year we'll actually make some money. But so far, I've just put all my life savings into this business. But it's too good a business to let slip. Later on this month, we will be awarded our red flag for heritage craft in danger. So we'll be a red list heritage craft. We're a beautiful little business. There's only, as far as I know, in England, there's Delabo in Cornwall. There's Lakeland Slate up in Keswick. There's Honister up at Honister Pass, and there's Norman down in Ambleside. And those are the only slate masons that I know of, proper slate masons that take the stuff from the quarry and do it the proper way. And so I have absolute respect for all of those people. They are not my opposition one little bit. What I want is a great big pie, not pie, a great big pie that we can divide, where we're happy with what we're getting and they're happy with what they're getting. And we tell the world about Cumbrian slate. And to be fair to Honister and to Lakeland and Norman, some of them aren't so good at telling people about Cumbrian slate. And I just feel that that's my mission now. So I tell as many people as I can. And so when I put some stuff out on Twitter, and I get, like this weekend, I got 20-odd thousand hits on Twitter. It's telling people about what we do and what the slate is and getting them more interested so that they don't have this idea that slate is the stuff that comes from Wales. It's proper Cumbrian slate with all the beauty that goes with Cumbrian slate. Not just green slate, blue-grey slate, black slate, slate with faults in, the beautiful silver-grey slate that we only get in Coniston. It's all of those sort of slates that I think the British public need a bit more knowledge about. And I think that once they do get knowledgeable, everybody will want to jump on the bandwagon, and I'll be dead. But I'll have achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah. So then let's backtrack slightly then before we start talking about slate. So then what was it like then the first day when you officially took over? And what's been like the journey from then to now? Because like you say, now you're starting to turn a profit, things are getting a bit of momentum. But then what's it been like? Because I know you said to me before we started, you took it over a few weeks after, wasn't it? Then COVID hit.
Yeah, it's the rockiest journey that you can possibly imagine. I will at some point write a book. I don't have any time at the moment, but I will write a book about
the second one.
Yeah, second. It might even be the third. But it's a day. It's a journey of ups and downs. There is no plateau.
No,
it's you're either, you come in and you go, oh, such and such have been on the phone and they want 40 of these. 40 of those at £100 each. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And you're up and you're flying and you're working. And the first few weeks when I took over were absolutely fantastic because we were getting customers back. We were revisiting old customers who were really, really sad that we'd gone belly up. So it was just brilliant, buzzing with it. And then 3 months later, and then a month later, you close it down and you're in the depths of depression because I'm just losing money every single day, losing more money every single day. And if you've ever been in that position, it ain't brilliant, I've got to say.
Especially when it's out of your control as well, isn't it?
It's out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And there's nothing at all I can do about it. And so I can see my house vanishing. And, you spend a lot of time avoiding the wife because you're only just going to argue. So why would you see? So you don't really have a life. You just have a depression. And then you come back and then everything races and you're off and everybody's going, oh, I've just opened a gift shop. Can I have 8 of these and 15 of these and 25 of those? And you're buzzing again and you're doing stuff and you're buzzing. And then they go, oh, lockdown 2. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then there's a war and then there's, you've got, it's just been
non-stop.
You could not have written the last 3 years,
timing as well.
And the worst thing is, the war was bad because I now pay double in energy costs, and energy costs is a significant part of our business. I now pay double, and equally, people like Burlington Slate and the quarries around here, they have double energy costs. So so the cost of slate has gone up 4 times in the past 16 months. So it's, but the thing really killed me was, when Liz Truss just battered the economy and we all now pay 4% more on our mortgages. So my mortgage has gone up by, the amount I pay has gone up by 15 to 20% in real terms. And everybody else's must have done that.
Yeah.
And it's just hard work because everything now costs more. And people go, well, you used to sell me that at 20 quid and now it's 30. Yeah, that's what happens.
It costs, when inflation.
When Tory government ministers and prime ministers destroy the economy. And that's what's happened for us. And I'm fairly sure because last week 5 breweries went under. Every day 6 construction firms go under. I'm fairly sure that I'm not the hardest hit. I just think that the way that the government have a manufacturing or a policy on what to do, if it's not the Bank of England or if it's not the money in the city, they haven't got a clue, and they're just destroying huge swathes. I would hate to have a pub now. I absolutely hate to have a pub. I don't know how pub sleep.
You see them all shutting down, don't you?
Yeah.
It's
and they won't
crazy.
reopen.
No,
who's going to take on a pub that's been shut down for a month?
Yeah,
not going to reopen.
No, and pay thousands of pounds to just keep it up in the hope that it'll work.
Yeah.
So then, like you say, let's talk a bit about Slate then. Give me the masterclass that you gave me outside to be.
Okay, we're very lucky in Coniston that we have so many active quarries around us. And even the big quarry, which is Burlington Slate, they've recently reopened 2 on the mountain. They're sort of running down production at 1, which is a beautiful slate quarry. And I'm a little bit sad, but they've reopened 2 and I'm overjoyed about that. So we win, really. So we get all sorts of different slate. We get off the mountain, off Coniston Old Man, we get Brandy Crag and Rosenstone, which are silvery grey in colour. Very, very different, but very beautiful pieces of slate. We get, from just across the way at the top of the lake, we get a beautiful blue-grey to almost black slate called guards wood, and it's always got mud marks in it. It's nothing to do with mud, but it's always got some really interesting feature. So it makes beautiful clocks for us, and the quarryman there, Mark, is a fantastic guy.
Was that the one you were showing me with the thumbprint on before?
It's very much like that, yeah. We also get stuff from a couple of raptures who go into old quarries and just take the stuff that they haven't got in the last century. So we pull a little bit from a place called Peatfield, Billy and Isaac quarry there, and they supply us with fantastic stuff. I can't get enough of the stuff. Unfortunately, today they didn't have any for us, so we've had to go to Burlington. And so we go to Burlington, and Burlington's a great company. They tend to get quarry from a variety of quarries, and they put it all in their, what they call the graveyard. And we go and ratchet out in the graveyard and go, we'll have this, please. And then they charge us for whatever we've taken. So we take stuff that basically they don't want, but we find generally the stuff that they don't want is the stuff that we actually want. Because we don't want dull stuff to make into roofing slate. We want stuff to make into rolling pins and lamps and clocks and stuff like that has loads and loads of character in. So we look for character in the slate where they look for uniformity in the slate. So we do that, and and thankfully at the minute we're doing okay.
What about the Welsh slate then?
We don't use Welsh slate.
No, explain the difference.
Well, Welsh slate is...
you should explain the difference to me, didn't
sorry.
you? Just so people know.
I'm looking at him like, what the hell's he on about? Has he not been paying attention? Welsh slate is fantastic for roofing. And so as soon as you go out of Cumbria, everywhere else goes, I want it slate. And they have in their mind, they want Welsh slate, which is, it's a more or less black, and it's very, very finely grained slate. So it's fantastic for what we call riving. When you rive a slate, you make it into tiles for putting on your roof. And it's fantastic for doing that. But it is black, and, you don't get any sort of green. You don't get the runs of pyrites that we get in. You don't get a run of spar or anything like that to make it a little bit more interesting. You certainly don't get the sort of stuff that we get in green slate, where it can be 6 or 7 different shades of green, all in one little cube of slate. So it's good for what it does. I won't do it down. I'd love to see Welsh slate being used throughout Britain for roofing.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see our quarries being quarried for other stuff, for headstones and for clocks and for anything else. I'm always on the lookout for something good to make out of slate. And people suggest stuff, and some of it works and some of it's just, you think, well, why do these people do that? I can't do that.
So then as well, why do you think there's the misinterpretation of slate from the south of England to the north of England?
Well, there's definitely a line. Yeah. People do, because they've only come into contact with Welsh slate, they go, well, I just want it slate coloured. And by that, they mean more or less black, that sort of dark grey, slate coloured. And it's not, it's just a knowledge thing. It's just an education thing. If they saw what they've got here, if they saw all the different types of slate, then they wouldn't go, I want it slate coloured, because they'd realise that, that's like going and buying a black and white telly nowadays. You want it all the different shades that you can get. It's just we sell, if it's going for what we call export, if it's going out of the county, in general, it's blue-grey slate. And if it's going for customers in the county, in general, it's green slate.
So then that education, then where do you think it's lacking? I know I asked you before and you said you were not really sure, but let's discuss that. Why do you think people, when you say slate, they think of one thing, but there's so many different options and they're not aware of that?
I don't think it's high up on people's list. It's high up on my list, but it's not high up on most people's list. We tend to just regard slate as just a consumable. It's like nowadays we're getting all sorts of really interesting stuff. So if I wanted salt, in general, I've just gone to the co-op and bought some salt. But now you get sea salt and you get pan-dried salt, Himalayan salt, and it's a little bit like, that's the job we've got to do. We've got to educate people. And I find that the stuff that I do brings our slate to a wider audience because other people aren't doing it. honest to do what they do, and they're great at doing that. Mike down at Lakeland Slate, he's not interested in doing it. He hates the web. He'd quite happily not do anything on the web at all for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He just wants to do gravestones and other stuff, and he's fantastic at doing that. I'm not doing him down one little bit. That's what he gets his kicks for. When I started this, I didn't really want to do anything on the web. My mate, Mike Sassy, Professor Michael Sassy, said, you have to, Brendan. And when I looked into it, he was right. It grieves me to say it, but he was right. I have to. So every day I put out 5 different types of media. I'm not good at Instagram yet. I need to be taught a little bit about that. But I put out 5 different types of media, and my audience grows every day. And so there's more and more people are seeing the benefits of it. And sometimes I just put out a little picture of something that I've done well. On Saturday, I put out a picture of a cheese board. It was a beautiful cheese board from Broughton green slate that Andy had engraved, and it was just beautiful. And there was a tiny little red line, which is where the iron has come through. You could see that little red line of iron. And I just thought, that's beautiful. I wonder if other people will share that. I'll share that joy of it. So I just put that onto Twitter and just went, here's my mate Colin's cheese board. And 6,500 people, 7,000 people liked it. So I'm spreading that word, and I'm hoping that those 6,500 people, if 10% spread that word, and then if 10% of them spread that word, then pretty soon we'll have people from London ringing us up and going, I want some of that. I want some cheese boards, and I want this, and I want that, and I want the other. And it's got to be from Broughton, or it's got to be from Elterwater, or it's got to be from Hodgeclose or whatever. It's got to be that sort of slate that I want, because I love that sort of slate. And we are finding it. I mean, we I'd love to say that we've worked really hard on getting Fallen Mason as a customer, but actually we've hardly done a thing. They've done all the work. They rang us up and said, we'd like you to make us these. And we've done that, and they're overjoyed with it. And apparently they're doing very well in the shop. And so, we haven't done the work, but somewhere along the line, they found out about us. And that's what I want. And I'd love it if Cumbrian gift shop owners or kitchen shop owners or whatever did the same for their own slate and said, I want my stuff to be Cumbrian, because they should, because we're all Cumbrian here, and we should buy into it, because it's so much better than buying into getting stuff from China.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you say about the social media and stuff, I think people just overcomplicate it, don't they? Like you say, if you do your 5 posts every day.
It takes me less than half an hour to do 5 posts.
It's simple, isn't it? It's just consistency over anything.
Yeah.
Being seen, like you say, that if you post it out, 6,000 people see it, 1% of them tell their friends, and then 10% of them buy, then you're on to a winner.
If I'm working hard on it, especially at the weekend, I'll do like little stories and stuff like that to put on LinkedIn or to put on Facebook. Or I'll do a really tight little couple of lines to put on Twitter. But if I'm really lazy and I haven't got any time, I'll just go, I've got 5 different pictures of lovely views of the Lake District or lovely slate. And I'll just ping those up and basically just put, what do you think? And, you don't need to spend huge amounts of time. I was listening to your other podcast about Joe Kirkup up in Longtown. Completely transformed his butcher's business.
Yeah, on Facebook.
You've either got to, I mean, I'm 61 and I shouldn't really be saying all this, but you've either got to embrace it, or you've got to really work hard by telling everybody that you bump into. Yeah. This is a bit like me going down the bottom of the hill and shouting at all the tourists.
Yeah, buy the slate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like for you then, when you went into this business and you said, right, I just want to sell, what was like the plan when you first started? Was it, I need to get on social media, or was it just, I need to ring up all my contacts or ring up the previous business that we've had and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
what was the plan?
When I started, when we first opened, my plan was to get back all the customers that we'd lost and see if I could get a lot of my contacts to buy in. And that's what we did. And one of my contacts, Mike Sassy, he came up here and he says, you've got them. This is fantastic, Brendan. And you don't understand it until you come up here. And he said, you've got to tell the wider world about it because they will buy in. And he says, you've got to get on Facebook. Not on Facebook. How does that work? You've got to get on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. How does that work? You've got to get on LinkedIn. Oh, yeah, I did a LinkedIn a couple of years ago. And he set it up. And
That's how we met through LinkedIn.
What?
That's how we met through LinkedIn, yeah.
And so he set it all up for me. He did it for a month for us, free of charge. And I think I bought him a bottle of wine. And
nothing's free in this world.
Yeah. And then he said, right, there you go, keep it going.
Yeah.
And so we've had various people. We had a great apprentice who did it for 2 years for us. I'm doing it now. I don't find it a problem, so I'm quite happy to just carry on. And I'm building a big following, which is great. And sometimes I find that as an angry old man, and I'm 61, and I am angry and I am old, I find it a great outlet to go, this really grinds my gears. You know, I really have a problem with United Utilities pumping sewage into our lakes. I just really do. So if I've got an opportunity to have a go at them, then I'll have a go at them.
It's real as well.
I think their CEO should be in prison. You know, I'll give you a little story. When I joined the scaffolding industry, I asked a mate of mine, Paul Bamp, why there was so few, why SGB was so into safety. And he said, well, the law changed 2 years ago, Brendan. I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, well, if you're the boss of a scaffolding company now and one of your men gets killed, it's a mandatory prison sentence. Really? And he said, 2 years ago, 230 odd people were killed in the scaffolding industry. Last year it was 13 and all the bosses went to prison. And I went, you're joking? And he went, no. And he told me about the places around Stoke-on-Trent where the bosses were currently in prison because they owned a scaffolding company and they hadn't put up the right guardrail, or they'd sent somebody just up a ladder and not had somebody basing the ladder. And I said, that's incredible. But that's live with me. The way to do it is to take action so that the people who really, really benefit won't benefit. So if you want to solve any of these problems that we've got at the moment, if you were to say to United Utilities, in 2 months' time, if you pump sewage into Lake Windermere, you're going to go to prison, it would stop.
Yeah, 100%.
It would 100%
Guaranteed,
stop.
yeah.
And so there is a lack of willingness to do stuff.
It's just easy.
Yeah, it is. And I went to see the laughingly called cooperative that looks after Windermere, of which United Utilities was one of the members. That's like inviting a wolf into a sheep's conference. And nobody wants to do anything about it because they all go to the same public school and they all meet at the same rugby club and they all go to the same golf club and they don't really want to do anything. And they really, really object to the fact that I call them a bunch of wasters and say, if you want to do something about it, this is what you want to do. Oh, but that would involve, I don't remember the CEO's name, would involve him going to prison. That's not going to work. Yes, it will work. Yeah, but such a draconian measure. Yeah, but it's better than pumping sewage into the thing. And also, in my own industry, I see it all the time. All the gift shops, the Lake District National Park, the Forestry Commission, all the gift shops sell Chinese slate. And you're just like, hold on a minute. You're the people who tell us what we can and can't do. And yet you're pushing a product that per ton, these are the figures. Cumbrian slate, 31 kilograms per ton. Chinese slate, 480 kilograms per ton.
480 kilograms?
Yeah, 480 kilograms per ton processed. And they go, yeah, but it's cheaper. It's not the right decision. It doesn't matter if it's cheaper. It's not the right decision. We export our conscience, and that's not good. We live in the same world as the Chinese, and yet we go, it's all right for them to live in shit, and it's all right for them to use slave labor, and it's all right for the Brazilians to dig up the rainforest, just so long as you're not doing it in West Cumbria.
Yeah.
You know, I struggle with that. I really do.
Yeah.
So today's tweet is all about the Forestry Commission, who have no Cumbrian slate in their shops, but have plenty of Chinese slate in their shops. And then they're the same people who go, you can't plant that because it's a non-native species. Yeah, well, you know, this is how it cuts.
Yeah.
That sword cuts both ways.
I never would have thought that about the gift shops not like stocking the non-Cumbrian slate.
I put a tweet up several months ago about Lake District National Park because it's a long story. I'm not going to bore you with it. But anyway, because I'm not in there.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we're very happy with our Chinese slate. That was the direct quote from the shop manageress, even though it's actually Spanish slate. But I put that quote up, and I put it up on Twitter, 160,000 people. The population of the South Lakes, including Barrow, 160,000 people saw it.
It's a lot of people in one room, isn't it?
Yeah. The BBC wanted to do something about it. But it's not a win-win for me. I'm a salesman. It's not a win-win. So tomorrow, the Lake District National Park are coming to visit me and to see what we do here and to see whether we can work together. And that's what I want. I don't want to upset Forestry, but I don't want to see them selling Chinese slate when they've got all this beautiful stuff on their doorstep. And the only reason they don't is because it's just more effort. Because that's not good enough.
No. So then, for you then, if somebody's listening to this or watching it and they're thinking, oh, well, what can I do to support you? Or what do you kind of create and what do you sell? What would you say to them?
Just go on our website. It's all there. We punch well above our weight on the website. I've got Alex to thank for that. He got a fantastic website, and I've just tinkered around with it a bit and made it better and got a better CEO. And is that right? CEO? Yeah. Yeah, so something like that. I've got, it works better, and we've got all our stuff on there, and we do an awful lot of bespoke stuff. So we get people now who just go, I've seen this on your website, but can you make one of these? Yes. Yeah, generally, we can.
Yeah, because when you were showing me around, there's like candle holders, there's placemats, there's trophies, there's little numbers, clocks and numbers for the caravan site as well, and everything. So it's literally like anything, isn't it?
Anything that we can do out of slate, yeah.
What do you reckon the weirdest request you've had then is?
Well, we do get some strange things. People want like carved statues and stuff, and we can't do them. You can't do that out of slate. But generally, people are very, very good. We're very lucky. We have some fantastic customers, and we have a real loyal fan base now. I mean, I look at my Facebook feed, and I look at what we score 5. We don't have any negative replies.
That's good, isn't it?
We just have people who absolutely love the stuff, and we try hard. It's not done because we take it for granted. It's done because we try really hard. We make sure that people love it. And they are becoming our ambassadors out there. And they are going, well, you should do this. You should try that. And they're the sort of people who next year will probably be going into places like Forestry England, picking it up and going, do you realise this is Spanish? Do you realise this is Chinese? Why are you selling it? And giving people grief. And, if people get grief, then they turn to a place where they get less grief. And the place where they get less grief is to buy Cumbrian stuff. Not just slate, anything Cumbrian over anything from elsewhere, and certainly over anything from China.
Yeah. So then, what do you think has been, from you personally, the key to why it's been so successful and why it's heading in the right direction then?
Well, it's successful.
Yeah. But why do you think it's on the way?
We haven't made any money yet.
Why do you think it's not gone under then? Or why do you think it's going in the right direction?
Well, I've got an accountant who's a wife. Or I've got a wife who's an accountant. So she keeps us on the straight and narrow.
So yeah, because you're 3 years in now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it must be doing all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're still employing the team and everything like that.
We still got our head above water. I wouldn't say we're all right. I worry about December, January, February, and I always will, because those are our real slow months. And what we need is somebody like Westmorland Family or Booths or the Lake District National Park. We need somebody that can provide us with, or Lakeland itself, that can provide us with biggish order that we can make through those months. So we get them and we do them like 4 times a year, and we're able to do 2 or 3 of those ones in the real, January and February. We were on 3 days a week this year. That's not good. It's not good for these lot. Certainly not good for me. And it's certainly not good for my cash flow. So we need something like that. And that's what I work at. And I work at things like Fortnum & Mason. It would be lovely if they said, yes, we would like to order X and we want them delivered in for Easter. And then we can work and do that so that we've got that coming. But, we ran out of work. It was shit.
Yeah.
Absolute shit. I never got any sleep through December.
Really? That bad?
I took the family on holiday up to Stonehaven up in Scottish East Coast. And I remember getting like an hour here and an hour there and driving down and just thinking, I don't think I've had more than about 10 hours in the whole of December. Just because it was so much worried. And we, I had to have that conversation when I came back in January and said, I have to put you on 3 days a week because I haven't got the money to pay you on 5. And luckily, we've managed and things are coming better, but things are still aren't great.
Yeah. And then how are you planning on educating people about Slate then? Because I know that's the one thing you're passionate about. I can see in your eyes and when you speak about it. That's doing stuff like this. I suppose you're doing another one after this, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing another one this afternoon. I've got loads of stuff that we do. We've got friends in the media. We get on very well with people in the newspaper industry and in the television industry. And I'm just hoping that occasionally we'll get people who go, oh, I know a little slate manufacturer. Oh, I know. Robson Green's been around and he's done all the normal stuff that Robson Green does. But we're a little hidden gem. And I'm hoping that whilst it's lovely to be a hidden gem, I'm hoping to just make it more available to a few more people so that people get to know about it. It would be lovely to have Country File or something like that.
Yeah.
And our sales would stretch roof again. But, we just do what we can do. We tell the story truthfully and we tell it honestly and we do the right thing. If somebody makes a mistake, we don't go, well, be all right. We correct that mistake. And I'm hoping by doing the right thing, at the end of the day, it'll benefit everybody.
Yeah, nice. So then the final thing to close on, biggest mistake, biggest regret?
Well, I was thinking about it. I mean, I really regret the wine business. It cost me a fortune. So always do your research.
Yeah, that's important.
Sometimes you can't. When you're forced into a position where the liquidator says, I need a decision now, you can't do your research. But try to do as much research as you can so that you know what you're getting yourself in for. And the other one is, there's 2 more about business, is margins. You can be a busy fool. We can work all day long, every day, doing stuff and not make any money on it. And I don't see any point in doing that. So always try and maintain a decent margin, and always look at your cash flow. God, that's been such a lesson to me. And my wife, as I say, she helps us with that, but she plans our cash flow and she tells me, yes, you can pay them now. Don't pay them. Yes, you can pay them. Yes, we've got enough to do this. Okay, we need you to go and get two more customers now.
Yeah.
So it does motivate you quite a lot.
Cash is so important, isn't it?
Cash flow is so important to small businesses and very, very, very misunderstood by most people.
Yeah, and when invoices are paid late.
Yeah.
And obviously then you can't pay somebody else and then it's just well, yeah.
We've had to learn the hard way. But we do now. We're on top of it all. We're all our suppliers are up to date. All the people who owe us money. Very few people owe us money.
Yeah, that's good. Last thing to close on then, what I did in the last podcast, a new thing. What makes you happy? Put you on the spot. Proving the point, yeah. No, to yourself then, or is it to other people? Where do you want validation from, Dre?
Well,
for me, I want to prove a point to myself and my parents that I can do it and that kind of thing.
I mean, there's people. We won Cumbria Wins Awards in 2021 for the best new business, and I can remember the speech. The speech I said, "This is for all the people who had faith in us. Thank you very much." And also, this is for all the people who didn't have faith in us. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
motivates you. I want, what makes me happy? Yeah, good try. Carlisle United getting promotion.
Do you reckon they'll get in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've got a few games left though.
I've got a great story. All those sort of things come in here. Makes me happy. I'm never as happy as when I'm working. I live in Staffordshire, but this is great. Stafford's just great as well. This really is great. We don't appreciate what we've got. And I'd like more people to appreciate what we've got.
Definitely. So, right, last thing to round up the podcast, plug websites, social media pages, all kind of stuff.
Website,
where can people find you?
Coniston Stonecraft.co.uk, Lake District Trophies, all one, all lowercase, .co.uk. Come and visit us, the less well-known track up the Old Man of Coniston. Just look on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I think it's all relative. I think we're Coniston Stone on that.
I can link it in below.
I'm not that sure about it at all. I do it, but I'm not that sure about it at all. But just be kind. Be kind. If you think I'm doing something wrong, let me know. But don't bad way. Use ways and means to let, and just do that. If you're the person who keeps telling me that it's Broughton Moor and not Broughton, stop it. It's pointless. I know.
All right. Thank you very much. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment your favourite part, any questions for Brendan. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time. Bye.